Hello again my friends, this is the boy and his dog, and welcome to the channel where I talk about, play, rank and review games on the Evercade old and new. In today's episode we continue our Butchers of the Evercade's first year with our 9th console cart, Piko Interactive Collection 1. And it's a whopper. This is the first of 4 collections on the system, and some would argue they're greatest. There are 20 titles on this cart, 20. The only other time this has happened was with the 2 Atari collections. Having 20 of those always made sense considering the size and ages of the games, but it's a whole different beast here. Some of these games are big, like epic big. It took a long time to get through this. I started at the end of last year thinking to myself, I've got plenty of time. Oh, how I chuckle at my naivety now. The playing and noting my thoughts on each game took long enough, but I swear that was only half the battle. This was so ridiculously tricky to rank. Don't get me wrong, I knew from the off what would probably be in last place and what would probably be at the top, at least for a couple of them. It was the middle portion that was the trickiest, but I got there, I think. As usual, this is just for fun and my own personal opinion on where the games land. Sometimes a game that's technically inferior could come up higher simply because I had more fun. And like all people, there are types of games I lean towards and others I leg it away from the moment I see them coming. But as of all things, there are sometimes exceptions. Do you think you've worked out the order I've dropped them before I reveal? And what are your lists? If you don't want to write the whole thing, your number 20 and number 1 would do. Let's get started. Number 20. At number 20, it's Power Punch 2, a boxing game developed by Beam Software, published by Piko Interactive and released in 1992. I really don't want to spend any time talking about this. I think this is the worst boxing game by far on the Evercade, and in my bottom list of games overall on the Evercade. I never want to play it again. Good day to you, sir. I said good day. Number 19. And in 19th place is Magic Girl, a vertical scrolling shooter developed by GameTech and originally released in 1993. Now on paper this sounds like a game I'd love, a vertical scrolling shoot 'em up with power-ups and enemies that feel like they wouldn't be out of place in Rainbow Islands, New Zealand Story, etc. But there's just something a little off with this one. The enemy's movement is kind of jerky and janky. It's like they've taken a frame out ever so often, and it's quite off-putting. The levels are too long, and the bosses, though sometimes quite coolly designed, are easier than the actual annoying enemies en route, but are total bullet sponges with a simple attack pattern that drags out too long. And some of the sound effects, oh my god, I want to pull my teeth out. Number 18. And in 18th place is Dork and Imp, or Yimp, not sure how to pronounce that. A platform game developed by Norse and Piko, published by Piko Interactive, and after laying dormant for 25 years unfinished, finally completed and released in 2015. This one is quite rough around the edges, but has a few interesting ideas. We all like a little shop, but you'll need to grab enough coins and levels to buy the big key to finish the level. And there are 2 ways to do this. Keep through the level, collect all the coins from killing the enemies and opening the chest of little keys. Some of these require some effort to reach. Or get the easy coins, fall off a platform and get the easy coins again. You'll probably have enough. You'd think this would be unwise, but the game throws a ridiculous amount of lives at you from the off, which I feel maybe to balance out how sometimes the level design can be a little off. It should maybe reset your coins to 0 after you've died, just saying. Overall it's okay. Number 17. And in 17th place is Power Pigs of the Dark Age, a platform game developed by Radical Interactive and published by Piko Interactive and originally released in 1996. Been quite the fan of platform games, and seeing there is a decent handful on this collection, it's quite funny that I'm already on to my second one. I started quite liking this game. The hand-drawn style of the levels and characters they're in is always nice, even if, like here, the art is a bit off. It still gives it that cartoony feel. The controls aren't as tight as you'd like, but they're generally okay. I just ended up getting a bit frustrated the further I got and a little bored, I must admit. There's nothing like atrociously wrong with it. Number 16. And in 16th place is The Way of the Exploding Fist, a fighting game developed by Beam Software, published by Piko Interactive and originally released in 1985. There is a kind of beauty now gone from single button one-on-one fighting games using the directional controls to create different moves while holding the button. At the same time, it's hard to make battles have that kind of flow where you can join one attack into another with graceful forward momentum. You're kind of rooted to the spot. So using it in a game like this fits much better when it's all down to that single shot to win a round. But it can still be a frustrating learning experience when you're used to what's now a conventional controlled fighting game. I'm very in the middle. It takes me a while to get the hang, but I eventually do. But even when I do, it always feels more luck than anything else. This can and is a fun game when you get into the swing of it, but for some it will just feel fiddly and frustrating. It is easier to play on the Alpha or with an arcade stick on the VS. Number 15. And in 15th place is Tinhead, a platform game developed by Microprose UK, published by Piko Interactive and originally released in 1993. Visually more polished than the previous two platformers in this list, level design is fine, if nothing new. The slightly annoying element is you have to pick up items twice in the sense that the outer case opens when you move past it, but you have to go back and collect what was in it. Which is fine, but when you're floating across platforms you must go constantly back on yourself. Not like an issue, just something I noticed. There is a choice of shot available you can cycle through, but only a couple really worth jumping back and forth from, or you end up like me, just sticking to one type and moving accordingly. It's alright. Number 14. And in 14th place is Iron Commando, a horizontal scrolling beat 'em up developed by Arcade Zone, published by Piko Interactive and originally released in 1995. Gorgeous looking but bloody hard side scrolling beat 'em up. I really like some of the details on this, like the car flying up from the bottom of the screen, full headlights blazing. You have to twat the hell out of it to stop the endless enemies. This game relies on a lot of pickups and there's everything from throwing knives to various types of guns, but they can be hard to use when you are surrounded and constantly twatted by enemies, which is pretty much all the time. The moves are kind of what you expect, though the flying kick is a bit over the top and takes a second to realise you need to be either very close or further back, or you'll fly right over some enemies' heads. I quite enjoyed this. Do I wish it was a tinsy wincy bit easier? Yeah, but even so, I had a lot of fun on my time with this game. Number 13. And in 13th place is Draken, an RPG developed by Infogames and Kemco Seco, I think that's how you pronounce it, published by Piko Interactive and originally released in 1989. A unique take on the RPG where the map is entirely first-person 3D while you explore it. When a random battle occurs, your 4 characters waddle onto the screen and take up to fight the enemies automatically. You can control individuals if you want and control their movement, but let go of the controller and they'll just get on with twine. Be warned when out on the field that lakes can be death traps if you're not paying attention. Your characters will walk almost directly into a lake, and if that's where the battle or event takes place, and if you're not quick with pressing L1 or R1, within seconds you could lose half your team. Dotted around the field are buildings you can enter. There are little places to buy weapons and items. There are also explorable buildings like the first castle you come across. As soon as you enter it, become single screen rooms. Your characters will again waddle into view and then start randomly wandering around, while your control character has a nose about, trying to interact with the environment. These areas can be maze-like in structure with characters to interact with or fight, or events can take place to push you forward. Fighting like an RPG will gain your character's EXP and sometimes rewards like weapons or items. There is a feeling of lack of control during fights, especially in the early part when there's limited options. So be wary of battles going in. Even grinding can end your characters early, and it's a while before you can bring them back. Overall an interesting take, but I have to admit I have more fun with the other RPGs in this collection, because there's a few. Number 12. And in 12th place is Water Margin, a side-scrolling beat-em-up developed by King Talk Information, published by Piko Interactive, and a Western version released, finally, in 2019. This is a solid enough side-scrolling twat-em-up in the Golden Axe vein, but without the ogres, cool-eyed dragons and little feckers you can kick for items. But much the same structurally and mechanically, even down to the special power-ups. Here they are split into fire, water, lightning, and I think earth. They look quite spectacular and never do as much damage as you would like, but are a big help. What's really funny about this game is the enemies will stand politely at the edge of the screen while you go around smashing barrels etc. for items before then slamming into you for a fight. So I respect that they respect you enough to wait. There are some annoying enemies, and you can get into a loop where you get knocked down. The moment you try and get up, you just get knocked down again, over and over and over. It is one of my pet peeves with this type of game, but I suppose occasionally it can't be helped. Thankfully, it doesn't happen too much. Otherwise, an enjoyable enough, if a little slow to move around, but with enough rounds to keep you busy for a little while. And this is a lot of fun on the Alpha or an arcade stick on the VS. But cool on whatever machine you use, if I'm honest. Number 11. And in 11th place is 8 Eyes, a platformer developed by Thinking Rabbit, published by Piko Interactive, and originally released in 1988. Now I love the idea of this game. I love you have a feathered friend who's perched on your shoulder you can send to attack or hit time switches to help you get through doorways. I kind of love the fact that it's a bit of a fecker to actually do that. It makes it feel like you have a real pet on your shoulder that will do as you generally ask, but when it feels like it. I know that's probably not the desired effect, but for me it feels as it should. like the pets I've had, and the best example in a video game for it is Trico from The Last Guardian. My Mila, that creature was such a technical marvel, even if though some of it was through a little bit dodgy AI, it made it feel so real. We all have dodgy AI, the mind is mental. I love the fact you can choose which location to enter from the start, each being quite unique from the last in layout. It feels quite early Castlevania in a lot of ways, and it's quite tough, probably no surprise. Some areas are tougher than others, some are straightforward, some are more maze-like. You can time stepping back and forward to avoid attacks, then get in your own. But sometimes no matter how nifty you are, the fecker will get you anyway. At the same time, a bird or some other creature is zigzagging across the screen, and it's a lose-lose wherever you move. So it can sometimes be a little unfair, but if you get past that and allow time to learn the stages and enemies, it does get a little easier. A little. But it will still always be a little bit of a bitch. I did have fun though. Number 10. And in 10th place is Immortal, an RPG developed by Sandcastle, published by Piko Interactive and originally released in 1990. Splat. This is an interesting one. It probably shouldn't be as high up the list as it is, but certain elements have won me over, which squeezed it into the top 10. Isometric games gives me those old feels. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for them. You're exploring a cool trap-filled dungeon, another tick. Damn, that's just when we think of Death Trap Dungeon. Oh, Baron Succumbit, hopefully one day we'll be able to enter your dungeon on the Evercade, along with nightmare creatures. I will keep asking, I will never stop, Blaze. Can you tell I'm fluttering my eyelids at you right now? You can pick up cool sounding items, scrolls, coins and mysterious old keys as you explore. But best of all, you get to fight creatures in cool but confusing at first battle screens. I don't think I ever worked the dodge out properly, but the death animations when you kill the enemies are varied and cool. I just really enjoyed the atmosphere of this game. Number 9. And in 9th place is The Humans. A puzzle platformer developed by Image Tech Design, published by Piko Interactive and originally released in 1992. I used to have this on the Amiga back in the day. It came after my brief obsession with Lemmings, after getting the 500 plus Cartoon Capers pack, which also included Captain Planet, Bart Simpson vs the Space Mutants, Pinball Dreams and Dulux Paint Free. This isn't important to the story, but it just made me realise what a weird collection that was. I will not comment either way on my view at the time of both Bart and Captain. I was young and knew no better, okay? But yeah, I got into the groove with this game after getting a demo disc with the One magazine, I think. Bought the whole game, loved it, and then forgot about it. But now here we are. And the first thing I will have to say, I can't remember it being this tricky from the start. And how long-winded it can be having to throw spears back and forth to get everyone through the stage. Honestly, move them dudes far out the way when throwing a spear or you will lose loads of humans early. I learnt this the hard way. It didn't, however, take long and I was back into the groove again like I used to be. This is a mostly chill game where you need to give yourself a bit of time for each level than you initially think. I do love trying to work out each stage. The crudely drawn animations when you first discover a new item like fire etc are groovy. And stages are varied with some nice backgrounds and colour palettes. This is a 100% trial and error style game, so if you're fine with that, dig in my friend. Number 8. And in 8th place is Radical Rex. Sorry, I love watching that bit. Developed by Beam Software, published by Piko Interactive, and originally released in 1994. Dinosaurs. I love dinosaurs. If you follow me for long, you know I love dinosaurs. And you're a dinosaur. And you get to ride a skateboard. No notes. Seriously, no notes. No, seriously though, I did enjoy this game. You don't get to use the skateboard anywhere near as much as you would think, but it's fine without that gimmick. There are fun mechanics built in. You can breathe fire, which can be powered up in a level by collecting special items, and a roar that can also become more powerful. The enemies need to be fried before you can twat them with a kick and kill them, so a bit of spacing and timing has to be thought about when facing any new type of enemy. And there is a bit of variety to the stages, meaning you have to think about how to work your way through to the exit goal. There's also groovy bonus rounds like the one you have to use blocks to kill the enemies without hitting a single item. Collecting all items on the screen awards you an extra credit. Of the cartoon platformers in this collection, this is the best designed and for me the most fun to play. Number 7. And in 7th place is Nightshade. Developed by Beam Software, published by Piko Interactive, and originally released in 1992. I love the atmosphere of this game. The opening is a vibe and brilliantly sets up what is to come. It can be confusing at first trying to grasp the menus. There's a main one with select that has all the moves you want, especially when trying to operate something. The other operate option is for items. It took me a while to twig this. Once I did, this was a very fun little adventure with wonderful animations throughout. That even in this basic form gives a cinematic feel that I found hard to resist. And great death traps if you get caught, that can be beaten if you work out how to. Though I still find it funny that the lever to stop the conveyor belt is right next to where you're getting dragged across. Not a very clever move from the enemy, who otherwise comes across quite menacing, at least in the opening story. The fighting system is also enjoyable and more interactive than I would have given it credit, considering how the rest of the game is. Honestly, as story-based cinematic games go, I put this in the same sort of area as Broken Sword and even Flashback. It's one of those surprisingly titles you come across with Evercade. It reminds me that there are always unknown treats awaiting to be explored. Number 6. And in 6th place is Top Racer. A racing game developed by Gremlin Graphics, published by Kenko and Piko Interactive, and originally released in 1992. Though I really do adore Top Racer and kind of wanted it in my top 5, when I really thought about it, everything beyond this point kind of hit my obsessive side. it got ridiculous, but we are soon coming to that. But for now, this is a fantastic racer, probably one of my favourites on the Evercade. Would have preferred single player to be full screen like its sequel? Yeah, but I still love it. Reminds me of those Lotus games on the Amiga, and whichever one it was, that pea soup was a password for the fog stage. I forget which one that was, but I loved it at the time. This game has a great amount of options on its front end. I will say dive into controls and change from default. It's a weird choice. Triangle X accelerate just doesn't work for me. Weird. There is a huge amount of tracks spread over various countries. I will always prefer night stages with street lamps. I always have. Loved it when the Night City ones popped up in various Ridge Racer titles, and we get them here, which is cool. The weird side effect of only having half a screen is you can see the position of your most rivalist of rivals, and it doesn't feel good when you see them fuck up. This is definitely one of the good ones. I'd always love more racing games though, Blaze. Please, thank you. I know we'll never get my favourite series Wipeout, but is the PS1 Ridgey series completely and totally out of question? A bit of Rage or Type 4 would never be turned down, my friends. Oh, I love them. Anyway, love this one too. It's great. Number 5. And in 5th place is Dragon View, an action RPG developed by Kotobuku System Co. I apologise. Published by Piko Interactive and originally released in 1994. As a semi-action based sequel to Dragon, maybe unofficial, I'm not sure about that, it does carry across the first person 3D world exploration. But here the enemies are seen and can be avoided, or in this case chased after. The battle switched to a side-on action platforms type feel. You control your characters and the fight, moving around, jumping or attacking at will. It's very freeing after the lack of control of the last game. Now all the locations you visit have this side view, with the story cutscenes done the same way. It gives the game a lighter touch than the previous, but the more control over proceedings, and let's be honest, a more obvious push as to what always to do next. Made this iteration extra delicious to me. There's a shop, I love a shop, with at first very pricey items, but a location nearby makes everything so smooth for the game. You can be healed and save, and it's free. To begin with, go out to the field, fight only a few battles, then straight back to town and heal. Keep doing this for easy early leveling. It's so much easier than getting expensive health potions, and it's not long before you can start venturing out a little further after a few level ups. The world is split into explorable chunks, which makes it feel not too overwhelming, with a few interesting locations dotted in each. The story will be sending you back and forth to these, and they are great fun to explore, gain an ability here that will help you get in deeper there. The story is simple but fun to follow, and I did become so addicted at grinding and seeing my power increase through leveling. It always feels so rewarding. I will say a lot of the rest of the games are perfect EXP buddies. If you save and get to a grinding area, you can put on some good music or a podcast or a cool audiobook, like the Dungeon Crawler Cole series. Yep, I'll keep mentioning that until you take a butcher's at what it's about. Bloody glorious. There aren't words except donut and Mongo for life. But you can easily lose an hour that way, just enjoying grinding and seeing how powerful you can get. It's just great stuff. Bloody loved it. Number 4. And in 4th place is Jim Power in the Lost Dimension, a platformer developed by Loricel, sorry I'm butchering these names, published by Piko Interactive and originally released in 1993. My Mila, this is hard when you first jump in. That initial stage is a trial by fire, and no mistake, but you can learn the enemy's pattern on the most part and survive, mostly if you're unscathed. But you know what really fixed me off? when you do a perfect run right up to the water drop section and one wrong move and splat. The amount of times, honestly, to avoid early frustrations you should use the trusty quick save every time you clear a section, and after a while you can go further without using them. Except the water drops, they are just bitches sent from the bowels of some evil demonic pit of eternal damnation. What I love about this game is when you finally got the hang of it and can get through the opening stage, you think, yeah, I got this. A completely new top-down game appears for 3 floors, and it's kind of equally evil, but not as much, but kind of cool in its own way. You need to collect enough keys by going through the right doorways first, or you won't even be able to finish the floor. Beautiful stuff. And when you finally get the hang of the top down, you'll be thinking, back to the platforming now, I can handle it. But the game's like, nah, satanic horizontal scrolling, shoot 'em up for you, dear sir. Get your noggin around that. Now you know I like horizontal scrolling shoot 'em up, but we are at the game's ultra bitch form now. He ain't taking prisoners, my friends, and bless my mad bonkers heart, I bloody love it. Some games I get frustrated at little things, and I can probably admit to giving up earlier than I should. But some games feel like a personal call out, like come on then. And for whatever reason, they hit the right thing in my brain and I'm like, bitch, the game is on. It doesn't matter how many times I have to try, occasionally I can never do it. And I kind of know that, but I can't still try. This is so one of those games, just yes, 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 yes. Number 3. And in third place is Canon: The Legend of the New Gods, an RPG developed by Chanpu, I hope I got that right, published by Piko Interactive and originally released in 1996. I thought my addictions were done with this car, I was so wrong, and next comes Canon and it's even more so than Dragon View. Again, you can gain EXP and level, but this is a more strategic RPG. The play areas for each battle are impressively large. When it's one of your character's turns, you can first move them around the area in a tile type fashion. Each of your characters can move a different distance indicated by the flashing tiles. After you've moved them, if you're in range, you can turn to twat the enemy. Again, each character's attack area is different. Some you have to be face to face, some you have to be further back or diagonal to. You gain experience for each kill you do and you keep going, depending on the rules of that battle, until they are all dead or the leader is dead. What is fantastic, if your characters all fall, or the one that specific battle dictates must not fall, falls, then you automatically go to the battle setup screen and can dive in again as many times as you like. And there is no negative to this. Your characters retain any EXP they gained, meaning if you are struggling to just keep trying different tactics and eventually you will power up enough regardless to wipe the floor with them. It's never a stress if you lose a fight, or just go in with a better start. So you'll always be triumphant in the end, no matter how long it takes. I was surprised how much I adored this, as I'm more into regular RPGs like Final Fantasy rather than Final Fantasy Tactics, say, but after getting so deep into this, it has inspired me to track down Tactics. I have the PSP version, but a dead PSP. I believe I may have the original PS1 game on my PS1 Mini, which miraculously has hundreds of PS1 games on it. No idea how that happened. Regardless, get into this beastie, for it surely be a banger. Number 2. And in second place is Switchblade, an action platformer developed by Core Design, published by Piko Interactive and originally released in 1989. The weird joy I get from exploring this game is hard to explain. It's got something to do with the way it builds the world as you explore it, room by room. It's like when you get obsessed about uncovering 100% of a map in an RPG like Star Ocean, say, only it's not a map, it's the actual world you're in. The way it does this visually just hits that bit of my brain that I have to uncover it all. I have to. And this place is huge and absolutely filled with secret, smashable blocks uncovering items or even further hidden rooms or chains of rooms aching to be explored. I also adore the quite frankly baffling way you attack. The longer you hold the attack button, a bar fills. Depending on where the bar is when you let go depends on the type of attack. There are 3. And bless the baddies, especially the taller ones, a few are very happy to stand there for a minute before attacking you to give you just enough time to fill it up a little. Very polite of them. The little feckers though do not give a damn and will charge back and forth across their assigned area regardless, meaning you have to move into their line with timing to attack and kill. Thankfully you can hold the attack button and fill the bar while moving into position, as long as you don't let go of the button until you are sure the timing is right to strike. I can't get enough of this game. Going back through these carts may have been foolish because I'm awakening obsessions I forgot about since moving to later carts. This cart has too many of them, and none more so than the game I'm going to talk about last. Number 1. And in first place, it's the only one left, it's Brave Battle Saga. An RPG developed by Champu, published by Piko Interactive and originally released in 1996. In many ways this is probably the least unique RPG on the collection. It's not far removed from the first Final Fantasy. Mechanically speaking, I mean. I will say off the bat I did get quite into the story, enjoyed whenever you reached a new town and a whole new storyline would come into play, gladly meeting new companions to join me on my journey as I went. But do you know what I found the most fun in this game? Yeah, you know it, it was the grind. And in this game it felt particularly fulfilling. There are no random battles, enemies appear as creatures out on the map as you explore between towns and dungeons. Each area will respawn as you leave and enter the area again. Touching a creature will transport you to the battle screen with the usual options in a turn-based affair: attack, defense, spell, item, etc. Stick near a town and the loot begins. Go out and kill until you're almost dead. If you've got magic heal spell, keep going using MP only on heal until it's depleted. Then return to town, sleep at the inn. It's cheaper than potions again and you get full everything when you wake up. What's cool is, if you manage to time your grinding well, you can level up while out, which completely fills your health to a new level. But not your MP, it must be noted, but meaning you can hang out longer. You can get such a hefty bag of coinage, which adds the next fun bit: shopping for items, weapons, armors and spells. It can get quite expensive quick. So out you go again for another round of leveling and gaining money, over and over until you've bought the shops out. I also find it so satisfying when you've entered a new area with more powerful enemies, and it's quick visits to the inn a lot, but as you power up it's less and less visits. You really notice their attacks do less and yours do more. So satisfying. This is why I could never get into RPGs where the enemies level with you. Like, what's the point? Why even have EXP and levels to begin with? Rant over, but you get my drift. Because it's so easy to set up an hour-long grinding loop on my EXP while I'm listening to Dungeon Crawler on Audible, do it. This has been the most stoner game I've played in a while. As long as you keep up with your grinding, always have best gear and spells, no new dungeon or boss should give you too much problem. So it's just stress-free joy for hours and hours. I'm still playing it now along with the last 2 games. And my final thoughts on this cart. I don't know if addiction should be the best word to advertise this cart, but it's the best description for me. A lot of this cart became pure unadulterated addiction. The dopamine hits are real. How is it best to put it? Even if you only like half the games on this cart, that's more than most others just by game number. Even if you only like 5 or 6, it's basically interplay, and you ain't telling me you like the whole 5 or 6 on them. as much as the 5 or 6 on here. Well, maybe. I can't talk. The weird shit I love and perplexing stuff I don't even surprises me sometimes. But whichever way you look at it, this was, at time of release and for a while after, the best value car on the Evercade. But now, seeing it for 97 squids on Amazon Marketplace, that probably makes it one of the least value for money on Evercade. Glad I remembered to get a couple more sealed copies before it went legacy in case this beauty dies on me. Don't want to go through that again, because that would be a sad day indeed. Overall though, this was the best value car on the Evercade, but is this my favourite car on the Evercade? No, it isn't, but it ain't damn far off. I can't tell you that you should rush out and grab it, but if some innocent unwise to the world dude somewhere is selling one for a tenner or 20 or something, you grab that bitch, you hear? You bloody grab it. And if you made it to the end of the episode, thanks ever so much for joining me. Leave a thumbs up or comment if you like, but even if not, I'm still chuffed you poked your head in for a goosey gander. Join me in the next one where we will be having a look at Techno's Collection 1. I hope you're having an awesome day, my friends, and until next time, be seeing you.